Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lenovo ISG Lunch and Learn presented by Ingram Micro. I know there was a snafu with the registration link, so I'll definitely make sure we provide a recording link once it's available. My name is Pratik Patel, and today I'm excited to be highlighting a new program from Lenovo called SMB Express. For that reason, we have Mike White from Lenovo to help us navigate and take advantage of this new program. Plus, we have Jamie Turkowski from Ingram Micro, who will help us understand the different ways that Ingram Micro is currently helping channel partner. And then we have David Godaniak from Ingram Micro, who will round out today's session with a hands-on DCSC demonstration of the SMB Express. But before we begin, let me start by saying SMB Express, in my opinion, is a game changer for the channel because it gives channel partners the easiest path to the quickest delivery of available ISG supply. In fact, I think it actually alleviates the unknowns of that, the potential long lead times and gets data center products into the hands of your customers quicker because it helps you identify and select available systems and options that have, the best possible delivery times. The reason why that matters is because too frequently I think we've all seen a situation where an opportunity is green-lighted and ready to ship, but there's that one constrained part that's holding up the entire shipment. And trust me, I understand your frustration, and so does Lenovo. That's why they created a new configuration mode in their DCSC configurator tool that's customized explicitly for speed and availability. Because Lenovo understands that if a channel partner is unable to deliver its products and services in that timely manner, it can negatively affect their business by not only the loss of revenue, but also, the loss of customer trust and loyalty. Plus, it invites new and increased competition into the mix and can even lead to negatively affecting reputation. For those reasons and many more, Lenovo introduced the SMB Express program to take advantage, or basically to take the guesswork out of this process. So speaking of understanding channel partners, let me hand it off to Jamie to discuss how her Ingram Micro team is helping channel partners every day.
Sure. Thanks, Pratik. So I'm going to share my screen here in just a second. I can't believe it. We've gone through so many tech talks this particular year, and we've talked about a variety of things from different solutions that we offer. We've brought in different software vendors, different partners that we've worked with. And the one thing that we didn't do was brag about probably the best resource we have here at Ingram, and that's the Lenovo ISG team that is supporting your business. So I'm going to take a few minutes here just to go over the structure of our team, let you know who's who, what they do, and how they support your business. So if you see on my screen, there's 14 different individuals that support the Lenovo ISG line directly. That's all they focus on, with the exception of Melissa Khalil, who is our manager. She handles 2 other vendors here at Ingram Micro that we do work with hand in hand. So she's the only one that divides her time. But we have our vendor business manager, JP. A lot of you are probably familiar with his name. He's been all over Ingram. He spent a lot of time on the Lenovo line, and now he's back, and we're very excited to have him. Going into 2023, JP is going to help with the strategy around pricing so we can make sure that we are as aggressive as possible for you guys on all deals, as well as stocking that relevant inventory to get the day-to-day BTO stuff out the door. So JP really has a great handle on that, and I think you're going to see a lot of progress in 2023 with what we're doing. Then you get down to me. I'm the solution sales executive, so I am the field rep. You'll see me at all the different events that we host, whether it's Lenovo Accelerate, Ingram One, or even your sales kickoffs. When you invite us, we typically do show up, so I'm always happy to take on those invitations. I focus mainly on strategy and growth, so I will set regular cadences with you when and if you want them. And we focus directly on your Lenovo ISG business and the different things that other resellers are doing to help accelerate their growth as well. So I do work closely with Pratik in that regard. I kind of set a strategy, and he backs it up with the technology that Lenovo offers. Moving over to the middle of the screen, you have our inside team here. These are names you're probably very familiar with as they handle all the day-to-day aspects of the business. So the first 4 listed, Nate, Colin, Tony, and Kelsey, they all work out of the Lenovo.servers at Ingram Micro email box. and they handle things like quotes, ETAs, escalations, really all the day-to-day aspects of your business with Lenovo ISG. They're a great liaison between you and Lenovo for getting things like SAP numbers and, like I said, ETAs. Towards the bottom, you have Jack, Janice, and Chris. They are specifically dedicated to software and services. So they work out of our services mailbox, not the server mailbox. Just due to the complexity of what goes into services, it's important to keep them separate so they can turn around those orders for you quickly and without error. And that takes us over to our technical support team. Pratik needs no introduction. If you've been on any of the tech talks, you know him very well. But Pratik does a lot more than just these tech talks and these lunch and learns. Like I said, he travels with me often in the field. A lot of times we're doing product trainings or portfolio overviews for your sales team. And Pratik has a great way of delivering that information in a way where it's not overly technical. But if you need it to be technical, he can definitely flip that switch and get into the nitty gritty, the speeds and feeds that I certainly can't speak to. So we definitely lean on Pratik for that, and he does a great job delivering it. The other thing he does, as we come up on certification season for your tier at Lenovo, he can help arrange boot camps. He can help you with some of the exams, any of the trainings required. So lean on him for certifications, as well as any product or portfolio overviews. And that leads me finally to the last three on the screen, David, Cody, and Alan. They work out of our solution design and services team. They're dedicated strictly to Lenovo, and this is kind of where the magic happens because they handle all of our configurations. So they'll do configurations for you from the very beginning to the end. They're happy to come in at some point in the middle and help you out with the configuration. Or one of the coolest things I think that they can do is they look at your build and they can say, well, that part is 12 weeks out, but we can substitute this equivalent part that's going to ship in 2 to 4, and they can modify your configuration. So please lean on them for configurations. They do a fantastic job with it. One of the other things that they do is if you have a new team member, or maybe your sales team just isn't great with Lenovo Partner Hub, they can do a great overview of the Partner Hub, give you a demo of how it works, similar to what David's going to do in a little bit here, just to get you guys a little more comfortable with how it works, because it can be quite the task if you're not familiar with it. One thing I will say about the SD&S team here is partners have always asked for a phone line into them to talk to them directly. And while that's not a bad idea, it's not good for the flow of our business to have them picking up the phone every 2 minutes if someone wants to talk to them about a configuration. So if you look at our email signatures, and I'll place it in the chat after I hand this off to Mike, but they have a bookings link. So you can schedule 15, 30-minute sessions with them to review a configuration or any questions that you have on a configuration that you're about to be working on, and they can walk you through that. So I highly suggest you definitely use that link. It's not the direct phone line that people are asking for, but it was the best compromise to keep the business moving at a reasonable pace and answer your questions along the way. So that is it for the team here. Great team, all dedicated to Lenovo ISG. And I will say at Ingram Micro, we do it a little bit different than the other disties, where we are focused strictly on this side of the business. We collaborate and work with our IDG counterparts all the time. I'm sure no one here has not heard of Lenovo 360. So if you're having meetings with us, usually there's someone from the IDG team there. But anything you need to know about ISG, this team can definitely handle for you. So any questions, please throw them into the chat as it pertains to the team. And as usual, I'll add in there all the stuff about Booster, Yellowstone, and promos we have going on. But I do want to hand it over to Mike to discuss SMB Express, because that is exactly why we are all here. So Mike, I'm going to hand it off to you now.
Okay, thank you very much. Can everybody see me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to cover a new tool that we have to help simplify our lives. And the first thing that we're all going to say after we go through this presentation is, boy, do we wish we had this about 18 months ago. So just as a quick overview for those, just so we have our lingo straight, Lenovo uses two terms to talk about how we build and ship to you servers. We call build to order, where you go to Ingram and you order 20 boxes, and you, being the technical people and geniuses you are, you know how to build those and put those together for your customers. Okay, so you're buying off the shelf and you assemble it within the channel. We have CTO, which is, okay, you guys are still geniuses, but you've also figured out that you can go to a tool and you can actually go through the drop-down menus. You can configure the system as you wish, and you can actually have that whole system built to you and shipped to you as a built unit, whether it's just a single unit or it's a whole rack of units too as well. So we call that CTO. BTO is better if you're really looking for something quick, that's the best available, that's simple, that you want to be able to manipulate and control how the configuration is done, and it's a great way to get access to the latest promotions. The problem with BTO though is it's limited as far as the number of products or the options. We have 7,800 options that we have in our products, but we don't have 7,800 products in stock at Ingram. And so what ends up happening is you end up accidentally choosing the one thing that maybe is not in stock, that might be 6 weeks out, like we just talked about. And so what if I had a tool that could tell you all the stuff that's readily available, and you could go through the menu and you can basically say, hey, here's what I actually need. Okay. And so the tool is actually S&P Express. So this is our mainstream configurator. This is how every one of our servers is built. Now, whether you do it yourself or you use the Ingram team that Jamie was talking about to do this for you, we're all going to use this tool. And what the S&P Express mode is it removes the clutter. It is basically a set of available parts and options, including the system at the family level. So there's 8 of our highest selling server families are in this tool. And what it is a complete reduced list of, instead of 7,800 options, it's a list of about 1,000 that are readily available off the shelf, ready to go. And as you're going through the different menus, you can basically decide to yourself, hey, what's the best processor that's available? What's the best hard drive that's available? And then again, you'll be able to see what are the different types of power supplies or whatever that are available. And the advantage here is you're making immediate decisions about, the trade-off between what I need to buy now and what's the feature and functionality that my customer is asking for. We'll talk in a few minutes about maybe this isn't the right option for you, but it is the best way for you to get to the different, the best way to get the most readily available server that your customer needs right now. So I just showed you the configurator. There's a bunch of boxes there at the top, and there's 3 basic modes you need to know about the configurator. The S&P Express mode is new. It is a simplified offering set. It's updated weekly. It has promotions on it, and it's basically what's available now. It's the quickest route that you have for servers and systems to get delivered. If your customer is picky and they want to just specific options with specific functionality and specific sizes, you may actually use the traditional method, which is all the way over on the right, which is the configure to order one. So this has the full 7,800 of Lenovo options and the various things that we offer. It's the complete portfolio all the way over on the right. And you can go back and forth between the two. You don't always have to use one or the other. Now in the middle, we have what we talked about at the beginning of the presentation, which was the BTO. So if you still want to do BTO and buy off the shelf and you need part numbers, or if you have an existing part number or server that's out there and the customer is now calling you and trying to ask you, well, I want to upgrade the memory, the hard drives, or add something to it, you can use the pre-configured mode to basically help you find and get that part number that you need. Okay, so we've just lived through supply chain experience. I'll call it that. I won't say anything else than that. So with this new S&P Express mode, we're getting really close to where we were before the pandemic, which is about 2 to 4 weeks of delivery time. The parts you see available on this tool are sitting in our factory. There are going to be cases where you use S&P Express, where there are no power supplies of any size. There are no power, might be missing some riser cards or something that's occasionally out. But for the most part, when you use S&P Express, you're going to be getting a 2 to 4 week delivery time on those products that are in this tool. Okay, doesn't move you to the top of the list. It just, when you use S&P Express, our supply chain team will now know that, hey, they used S&P Express. We know we have it in stock. These orders are going to go straight to the shop floor, and they're going to get in line with everything else that can be built, and it'll ship out the fastest way possible. Okay. The other thing you're starting to see on all of our configurators, this is not exclusive to SMB. You're starting to see us put some promotions out there so that you can get a great deal, better value to your customer. And the intent of these promotions is for you to basically do a trade-off between, hey, do I upsell them to a higher class of processor? Do I do the 32 gig versus the 16 gig? The whole idea of the promotions is to help influencing you to get better value for at or below price of a comparable option. So per feedback, we've started to put the dollars on these promotions, how much you're saving for each one of these parts. And when we say $300, understand that we on our pricing tools this is off the normally approved price. Okay, so this isn't like a back-end rebate, but this just means that the price we were going to give you is now $300 less if you choose this option. And we have promotions right now on both Intel and AMD processors. We have promotions on key options, some memory modules. Across the board, it's not really hard for you to save at least $500, $600, $700 for a system if you take advantage of these promotions that we have out there. Now, these promotions are going to change. So the other idea of SMB Express is we know what we have in stock. We know what we want to move. So SMB Express is always going to communicate to you what's on special right now. Okay, so that you can take advantage of. So we've been talking about SMB Express. Go ahead.
We had a couple questions come into the chat that people have been answering, but if you want to address them, the first was, can I use SMB Express mode even if I have a deal reg?
Yes, absolutely. You should always get a deal reg if you can.
Always get a deal reg.
Yes, a deal reg is very important. Deal reg, it gives you the access to the lowest possible price from Lenovo. And
Yes.
so it's always a good reason to get a deal reg. So this is not, we love deal reg.
And I will say on the deal reg conversation, the inside team is happy to do those on your behalf. So if you're having trouble with the portal or you just need it to move a little quicker than you can do it, send it over and we'll do the deal reg for you. Mike, the other question was that they didn't see the SMB Express box, but they weren't currently logged into Lenovo Partner Hub. So that's probably key.
Yes. So thank you. I missed it. I skipped it on this very first slide. So thank you. So where to find it? Today, it's off of the main page, meaning it disappeared for some reason. So knowing I had to do this presentation, I've been bugging IT all day. Like, hey, I have 200 of my best friends coming. They want to see this. But it has fallen off the regular public dcsclenovo.com. But I'll promise you, it's coming back probably as soon as I'm done with this call. But you can go to the Lenovo Partner Hub, and in there is the access to this same configurator. But I promise you, it is going to be on the main public SMB DCSC site. And it was there last week. It just disappeared today for some reason. And so I'm working with my IT team to get it back.
And one other question, Mike, sorry.
No, you're fine.
What is the difference between deal reg and bid request?
So a deal reg is how we register an opportunity for an end user customer to you as the partner who brought it to us. So this means that if you do any type of investment with the account, meaning time, training, coaching, consulting, deal registration is our way to protect your time that you invested with a price that's lower than anybody else who comes in after you. So a deal reg, on average, is around 8% of a price advantage versus anybody else who comes in and asks for pricing for that same customer without a deal reg. We only give one deal reg for each one of our accounts. Okay.
Just to quickly chime in on that too, even the deal registered opportunity will still go into a bid request. So, every, bid request doesn't have a deal reg, but every deal registration is going to have a bid behind it. We always submit a bid to them. It's just the better pricing that we get back with a deal registered bid.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Customers who will like SMB Express, or partners who will like SMB Express, they love the idea of choosing between the readily available parts. They're not hung up on any specific brands of hard drives or memory. They they like the idea of taking up on promotions. They can live with sometimes price will be a little bit variable, not too variable, but sometimes it's not going to be exact same price. And they're okay with the smaller list of potential options. Our traditional corporate big customer who likes to qualify and test everything, qualify it once and live with it for 12 months, doesn't want to change, is grumpy and a stickler for what they put into their data centers, S&P Express is probably not their choice. The other thing that we have to warn you about is, there was this EPA, TSCA initiative a few years ago. We still see a few customers who want to only buy those servers without that EPEAT plastic that's part of the TSCA requirement too as well. So if you have a customer who only wants the newest cabling that doesn't have the bad plastic in it, yeah, you have to use the CTO, the regular CTO mode as well. Okay, so I will make this presentation available, put it out there somewhere where you can download it. There's some other FAQs, but hopefully there's some more questions I can answer for you, but that's all I had.
There are a few more in the chat, like around deal reg. What does the bid request typically run? They're talking about how the deal reg locks in with 8%, but what does the bid request typically run?
You mean as far as the deal size goes? So
good question.
Yeah, so let me just kind of start at the beginning on deal registration. So old Lenovo used to have a minimum deal size for deal registration. New Lenovo has wiped that away. So there's no minimum size on the deals that you can register. When you register an account, so whether you do it through Ingram or you kind of go through the training and you learn an LPH how to do it yourself, somebody goes in and says, okay, this is my customer. I want to register it for Lenovo ISG. So we have different deal registrations for IDG, our PC group, and our ISG, our server group. Once you have an ISG deal registration for that account, it's good for all solutions. So everything we sell. And that is good for 120 to 180 days. Okay. Meaning that any new bid or bids that come after that, you don't need a new deal registration. You have an active deal registration that you can use for that pricing process. When Ingram comes in and does a bid request and prices your ass, okay, the pricing they see from us is going to be reduced by 8% if you have that deal registration. So you're getting a lower cost up front on all deal registered opportunities, which is basically everything. You bid while that deal registration is active. When that deal registration does expire, you can renew it, and that 8% keeps churning. Okay, so it's not an opportunity-based deal registration. It is basically an account deal registration that you're registering as the lead in that customer account.
And that takes us to our next question very nicely, from Sylvia, where she asks, if a partner already has a deal reg for a customer and they keep renewing it, even if they don't have an opportunity, how does another partner get a chance at submitting a deal reg?
Right, so every one of our customers has an assigned Lenovo rep. And in this process, in this tool or request deal registration, there's a button called investment review. I don't know why it's called investment review, but it is. I don't even know what investment review means. But what it means to us is what happens when you press it is you basically will fill out a quick, 2-sentence, 3-sentence case for why you think you should have access to deal reg pricing. The sales rep assigned from the Lenovo is actually going to review it. And if we see no sales, we will agree with you. We will actually assign a duplicate deal registration. So deal registrations cannot be used to reserve an account for another vendor. We won't accept that. So it's not a permanent reservation. But if you're selling into that account and somebody else tries to investment review or try to get a duplicate deal registration, we'll deny it because you're in there selling the account. But somebody with no sales, no history, no bids, we'll check for quotes too as well. We'll go ahead. If there's no activity, definitely do a second deal registration. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So S&P Express, I'm excited about it. I think it's what people have been asking for, what's readily available. It's in a nice consolidated place. So I'm going to hand it over to David now, and he's going to walk you through what the configurator actually looks like and take you through a build, I believe.
Thank you so much, Jamie. So I'm gonna just pull up my screen here. Everybody can hear me okay, correct?
Yep.
Yep, perfect. So I'll pull up my screen. Let me know when you can see it. Should be coming up now.
Yep, I can see it.
Awesome. So from the way that he mentioned to access, and again, as he said, the offline configurator will have this option in as well. But for now, you'll want to go in through the Lenovo Partner Hub. In the Lenovo Partner Hub, you can typically get to the configurator a couple ways. But the best way is going into products and services on the top. On the bottom right-hand side here, you have your infrastructure solution configurator. Bear in mind, you may have a slightly different view. I'm with a distributor. I'm not sure if there's extra options in there that you may not typically see, but it is going to be under that same heading. This will bring you to our data center solution configurator. In here, as you saw on the previous screens that were shown, we have your SMB Express, your pre-configured option, and then the configured to order option, kind of like your starting points for where you want to go. So we'll start here with the SMB Express. While kind of going through this, I wanted to figure out the easiest way to figure out what products are available in here. And me and Pratik, while looking through it, realized that it's a really simple search feature. All of our racks and servers are called SR. That's a server with the rack format. So SR, and then you have different models, 630, 650. You have our AMD options, which will end in a 5. So all these are going to be AMD options. All the ones that end in 0 would be your Intel. And the reason I put an S in there is because it's going to show you all the available servers because it's basically a little search. So if you just want to see the SR630 because you know that you want a 1U server rack, you'll come here and you can choose between our current Intel, which is our second generation processors, or our SR630 V2, which is going to bring you into our third generation Intel scalable processor set. For our purposes, we're going to jump into the SR630. It's going to be a 1U. And again, remember, you're doing this as a CTO. So there's going to be a configured order. Everything that you order is going to come all in one box, all put together for you. It's also going to be a single SKU. And you can incorporate your services, so your warranty, your operating system, etc., all into that single SKU as well for the CTOs. So taking a look here on the base model, I'm going to do a couple quick things. So on the right-hand side, it's always good to make sure that, especially if you're new with the tool, that you're putting yourself in what's called guided mode. What guided mode does is it doesn't allow you to see options that, based on what you currently have selected, are invalid, right? It prevents you from making mistakes, which is important when you first start to use the tool. And also make sure that this option that says show errors is on. In guided mode, it will always be on, so that's good. You can see here that, the base models, you have your 2.5-inch chassis, you have a 3.5-inch chassis shell, and then as you can see, all of the supply statuses are green. I'm just going to click around a little bit to kind of give you that, overview, right? You got the green across just about everything that you see there. You got your 8-bay backplane. I'm gonna quickly put something together here. We have, we're gonna stay with the 5218 processor. And because I know I have a great example of something that was mentioned in the presentation, we're gonna stick with the 2.5-inch bays. So our memory is good for now. We'll keep it at 32. I mean, I guess we'll just add another one in there for fun. But now we're gonna go to our storage section. In the storage section, you're gonna see that in the controllers, they're not expanded right now because we're in guided mode. And technically speaking, if you don't have a backplane, you don't need a controller. So that's an example of how it's, preventing you from making mistakes. So if we go to the backplane, which is first kind of in the tab order, kind of helps you to know what you need to select first. We're going to select a backplane, so a 2.5-inch backplane. Now you'll notice that because I selected a backplane, it says, hey, you're going to need something to control that backplane. So you're going to see a little error message here. There's a lot of options here, but it's basically saying if you have a processor and you have a backplane, you're going to need some kind of controller, and it gives you a list of all of them. You have a couple options. You can actually click it right from the error message itself, and it'll bring you to that option. But in this case, it's best because we're in SMB Express. You want to look for the available parts, so you see your green options here. So I'm going to go ahead and select our controller. I'm going to go ahead and get one that's got some cache in it. So we're going to go with this. Well, actually, I don't need the cache. We're going to go with this one here. So this one's available. This is going to allow me to do up to 8 drives. That's what the nomenclature, 548i controls 8 drives. 16i will be 16 drives. Now you'll notice that when I selected that, I have an error in PCI. It's just letting me know that something is needed because I have that part in there. I'm going to need a riser to hold it. That's all it's letting me know. So we're going to go ahead and select the riser in question. I'm getting an error. So it may be because these are not showing available based on the current selection, and I'm not sure why. Let me just do, so as an example, if you're seeing a problem where you can't get past this error message or figure out what's happening, you can engage our team, and that's what we're basically here for, is to figure this out. So I'm gonna go into expert mode real quick. Basically just allows me to select any option I want. So I know that I need to select a riser card, and I'm gonna do our low profile 2 here. Okay. We might have to back off of this one just so I can figure out why I'm getting this error. But I'm gonna see if I can get through it here with the bracket and whatnot. Yeah, that's not gonna help either. So let me get back into my storage to select a different adapter that doesn't require a Gen 4 adapter. Um, Well, I guess we got to here earlier. So in my previous example, I was able to select some other options. So previously I just selected this one, but it's not showing as green or readily available. But it may just be the fact that it's just missing that right now. I can validate that in a moment. But with a RAID card that doesn't require an additional adapter, which I can now take this adapter off. Start to get some clean errors here. Okay. So it's still saying that it requires our adapter card for some reason. It didn't before, but the main thing I was trying to get to was actually a problem where you don't have the ability to select the thing that you need. And I think in this case, it's our low profile riser 1. It's not currently available within our SMB Express tool. My original goal was to get to the internal storage to allow you to see that there are no 2.5-inch drives, or at least a couple moments ago there weren't. It looks like there's one showing now, but because you can see they update it pretty frequently. There wasn't any 2.5-inch drives to select, and you're at that point you're like, well, I just did all this configuration. What am I supposed to do at this point? You have a pretty readily available build, but you still need a controller. You're still going to need some other parts. At that point, what you can do is export your current build, and one of two things: give it to Ingram Micro, myself, and my technical team, and we'll go ahead and add the additional parts you need. Or if you're savvy enough and want to jump in, you basically will export this to an XML. It's a little zip file. Let's give that a quick name. And what this does is going to give you an XML file inside of this zip. And what it does is basically allows you to import that configuration into the normal CTO tool. And then you can grab the other parts that you need. So again, in my main example, my goal was to get to the hard drives. Imagine having your entire build and then you say, oh, well, I just need some 2.5-inch drives. Maybe they don't need to be green and available in 2 weeks. You're okay with maybe 4 for the drives. You can then take this export, which I'm going to grab real quick. Pardon my hesitation here while I open it. Awesome. So now that I've exported that, I have a saving of it, so I'm not going to need to do anything here. I'm going to go right back to my home. I'm going to lose this build because, again, I'm going to re-import it now. So back at this configuration screen, you have your main 3 options, and you should also have one here to import a previous configuration. What you're going to do at that point is go ahead and select the file you'd like, or you can drag and drop it from its current location. One tip: don't leave the XML file inside of the zip file. It won't properly upload. Make sure you extract it first and then import it. Once you do, if there are any issues or problems, it'll let you know. It'll usually automatically swap anything that's needed. And you don't really need to do much there. You'll click through that message. And once you come in here, we're no longer in the SMB Express mode, and we can select the storage controller that we need since there wasn't one available that didn't, I'm sorry, where is it? Low profile riser. It looks like it's readily available, but you're going to see that there's probably, what was the one we needed here? Yeah, actually, that's the one we needed right there. That on. And we'll get ourselves a low profile bracket for it. That should resolve our errors. So it looks like it is readily available in this screenshot here. So I'm not sure why it wasn't showing in SMB Express. But again, I have been kind of clicking around a ton in these, and I have like 3 or 4 windows open with it. So bear in mind with that. But anyways, we've kind of alleviated that error message. And you'll see that in this option, I can go ahead and select some drives. So I go to my internal storage. And now when I go in here, it's not always easy to filter through all these options. I like to use the product filter on the left. That's going to allow you to kind of narrow it down easier, right? We don't need large form factor drives because this is a small form factor chassis. That's going to make it really easy for you. We're going to go with some SATA SSDs, let's say. By doing that, you only have one option to choose from, okay? Or if you wanted to choose between SATA and SAS SSDs, now you have both of them open here to select between the different parts that you may want. So just taking a quick look, it looks like a lot of these are currently out for quite some weeks. You see this one starts to have some supply around 5 or 8. And sometimes we get questions about this too. Why does it show as gray, which is a supply availability risk, if at 5 to 8 weeks it's showing you got supply coming in? And that's because the indication you're going to see on the external piece before you look into the more in-depth is going to be whatever the current supply is at week 4. So right around the 3 to 4 week, whatever you see here is typically what will display. So that's why I always tell people when you're selecting through things and you see something that is yellow, it might be yellow on week 4, but green in week 1, week 2, which means we have some supply right now, but it may, dwindle away before week 3 or 4. So if you have an order, get it in, things like that. To give you a little more detail on how these indications work. So we do have some supply. This one coming in 5 or 8. And these are estimates. That's another thing that we want to keep in mind. It's based on the inventory from Lenovo. They do update it every day. But realistically, if you want to get a much better idea, reach out to one of our associates. We'll get a bid in the Lenovo system. And with those bids, typically we'll get an actual date, an estimated shipping date that will come out for your CTO build, your SMB Express build. And it'll let us know, what is the estimated shipping date as opposed to, having to decide if it's red, yellow, green, and where that falls product by product. So I think that was the main caveat I wanted to go over, is that when you get to a point where you can't actually select an option to get you to the next step, it may be like the drives, the fact that it's not available. And let's just say, and I can go on for hours with this, but I'll do one more quick example. Let's say you really do need something right now, and you're willing to do 3.5-inch drives. We would go back to your base. We would change it to the 3.5-inch. You could do 4 bays if you just need a smaller version. We'll do 4 bays. So now you're going to get some error messages because remember the things that I should do the 3.5-inch base V2. But you may get some error messages because remember some of the things you selected previously, if you had selected drives, they're incorrect now because you changed your base. Some things to keep in mind. I'm in expert mode, which allowed me to do that. But if you were in guided mode, it wouldn't even show you the other options because of the fact that you were there. I'm going to actually hop back over to guided mode, and it'll probably give me a ton of errors, but we'll squeak through them real quick. So we've changed to a 3.5-inch chassis because you need drives that are actually available. But again, you have to change the backplane to match your chassis. So we'll get our 3.5-inch backplane in here, which will also alleviate the error message that you're seeing above. The controller is fine either way. The controller works for 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch. The controller is really just about the amount of drives it's going to control and whether or not it can perform RAID and what levels. Next, you have your internal storage, which, based on this, we're not in SMB Express, but I forgot we jumped out of it. This would be it over here, but you would see a ton of actual hard drives available, and available for this specific unit because of the fact that we swapped over to the 3.5-inch drives. I think I might actually still have one open. I don't. While I get the SMB Express back open here, do we have any questions in the chat, or does anybody have any questions that you want to pose at this time about what we walked through or anything having to do with SMB Express or the configurator?
Yeah, we had a couple pop in the chat when you were talking.
Sure.
Rosemary says she loves the color signifying the stock. So when it is in green mode from Lenovo and we order, are we looking at still a 4-week delivery time from Lenovo or much quicker? What is the expectation for delivery for the green color?
Green is 2 to 4 weeks.
Awesome. And then Jennifer asked, and does B mean back ordered?
No, this is a worldwide tool. In certain countries, we have to put for color blindness, we put the color, then the first letter of the color in the, so B means blue, and blue is the best available. So it's blue, green, yellow, gray, black. Yeah, there you go.
So, and just so everybody knows where I got that, it's available to you in the configurator as well. Right here under supply status, there'll be a little question mark. You can click that. It'll give you basically a rundown of the colors that you see here. But from the top to the bottom is most available to, end of life product. You may see an R for a product that is going end of life. As we transition to our V2 Intel, scalable processors, we're obviously at some point going to be going end of life on those Intel second generation scalable ones like our SR630s, our SR650s, and you'll start to see those potentially go into this range with the R. So good information inside of here too, if you ever have, questions about what exactly those all mean. Any other questions in the chat?
Yeah, Kevin says, 2 to 4 weeks for US customers. How long to Canadian customers? Are we able to answer that?
So my configurator, I believe, is only for the US. I'm not 100% sure, as I don't run Canadian bids.
Yeah, I can answer that. It's the same. I mean, yes, there's a longer delivery time. So that's in the US, it's probably going to be closer to the 2, and in Canada, it's probably going to be closer to the 3.5, as we have to get through 2 countries to get to you.
And then Pratik asked a good question, David. He says, what files do you need from a partner when they request assistance?
Awesome. Good question. So it's really what you have available. If you have the XML, that's going to be amazing. The XML allows us to just simply click a couple buttons, as you saw. It uploads exactly what you made without any human error potentially going into it. Secondarily, let's say somebody passed it off secondhand to you, and all you have is, as an example, in that same XML or zip file, you may get a Excel file. So here, I'll actually show you both. So inside of that zip file, you get both of these for our SMB Express and for your CTOs. And the XML, that's the configuration file. That's the number one. We would love to have that over anything else. But if you can't get that file to us, there's also that Excel file. If you happen to have it, we can rebuild it off of this Excel file. But with CTOs, obviously, you're basically selecting every individual piece, and basically up to about here or so, and they're much bigger because I obviously didn't select very many options inside the SMB Express, but for larger builds, these CTOs can be upwards of 30 to 40 different part numbers, which obviously we'll take the time and we'll break them down. But rather than introducing the additional steps and clicks, if you have that XML file, that's going to be the best option for us, because we'll basically get exactly what you were meaning to do. And another good point about that would be, if you have an error or a problem inside of the tool, you get all the way to the end, and you're like, oh man, I got an error on this hard drive, I can't figure it out. Rather than just start from scratch with our team, you can actually export the one with an error in it and just send it to us and say, hey, I was building through this configuration, this is what I was looking to do, and I got kind of caught on this error message, can you help me out? And we can just pick up where you left off and say, oh, hey, it looks like you just had this thing, so we'll finish it all and send it back to you and let you know, hey, this was the option that kind of was preventing you from moving forward. It's a way for you to learn, and starts us off right where you left off.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you for that demo.
No problem.
And everyone on the call, thanks for jumping on. I know we're approaching the end here. As we go into 2023 in Q1, we are going to have a training around deal reg and LPH. So if you're interested in that, that's great. If you need it sooner before we get it scheduled, please reach out to me, Pratik, David, and we can set up a one-on-one training if needed, if you need it sooner. So other than that, thank you guys for a great year. It's been a great series, and looking forward to seeing you guys in 2023. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.